Hello, my friend, and welcome to the 709th episode of the Sales Podcast. I'm Wes Schaefer, Sales Whisperer, your host. Today we have Dr. Cindy McGovern. She is back from episode 402. So, man, like 5.5 years ago. Super sharp lady. She's called the First Lady of Sales. I've written a couple of books, and she's a speaker, PhD in organizational communication. Thought she was going to be a professor. Did that for a minute. Got into sales. 17 years later, doing our own thing, speaking around the world, writing books, launching programs. We talk about what is working, what has worked in the past, what is still working, what changes you need to make today to grow and thrive in sales. You will see she is not, it's not a stereotypical salesperson. She's, energetic, honest. The interesting thing is professional salespeople are energetic and honest and insightful, blah, 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 blah. It's the old school, high pressure kind of tactics that have persisted, and that's what we think sales are, but it's not. It's not, but the world doesn't always know that. So it was good catching up with her. We talk about the one thing. You'll see I bring it up just like this, but I'll hide it so you don't know what it says. But what people think sales is, what salespeople are, and how to defeat that. So you are in for a treat, okay? We link out to her program and stuff, her website, her consulting. So if you need that, stick around to the end or scroll into the notes. And 4 weeks later, still coughing. If I stopped all of these, I would never get any work done. I'm just going to have to leave them in. That's life in the big city, right? But things are growing over here. The 12 weeks to peak. Word is getting out. The daily email signups. People are signing up. So, hit the 12weekstopeak.com. Get the free habit tracker. Join us in the free group on LinkedIn right now. You'll get access to the mobile app, files, and it's there to help you grow. It is truly free. There's no hidden anything in there. But I do have my own inner circle. There are options if you want it one-on-one or team coaching to follow the 12 Weeks to Peak program. That's an option, but it's not required. It's not, I don't beat you over the head with it, but I'm not independently wealthy. So I still got to sell some things every now and then. So keynote talks, consulting, software, CRM sales. It's how I put food on the table, feed 7 kids, although, 5 of them are out of the house. 1 is still in college, so we help her sometimes. 2 are home, but now we're feeding grandkids and son-in-laws and daughter-in-laws and all that good stuff. So dig deep. Give till it hurts. It's for the kids. Now, let's bring on Dr. Cindy McGovern. Dr. Cindy McGovern, after 5.5 years from episode 402, welcome back to the Sales Podcast. How the heck are you?
I'm doing great. It's good to see you again, Wes. Thanks for having me back.
I can't believe how much you've put me off. Good thing I'm the Sales Whisperer, and I hounded you, and I harassed you, and I begged, and I pleaded, and I cajoled, and what else? I manipulated, I cried. You ever seen a grown man cry? It ain't pretty. It got you on the show, huh? Why you make me work so hard?
I guess I just like the chase. It's like one of those things. I'm used to chasing people as a salesperson. So
there you go. There you go. You've been traveling, you've been speaking, right?
All of the above, a lot since we've seen each other, a lot of international stuff, had a new book come out, launched an academy, doing the thing, trying to get out there and help these salespeople grow their business, shorten their sales cycle, and have a little more fun in the process.
So you got a couple books there behind you. So we first talked about every job is a sales job.
That's right.
But the one to the right's kind of cut off. It would sell yourself?
Sell yourself. So that is the one that came out about 1.5 years ago. And this one is on selling you. So really personal branding. And, before you sell anything, your product or service, you've got to sell yourself. You got to build trust. So that's really the focus of that one, is helping people to understand that you're selling 24/7. Online, when you're asleep, your profiles, your social media. So better make sure it's on purpose and that message is out there that you want the world to know.
Yeah, for sure. And you got your third coming out this year?
It is coming out late this fall. And this one's on sort of the internal sales conversation, selling ourselves on the idea that we need to do something, that we can do something, overcoming some of those nasty imposter pieces, but it's actually deeper than that. It goes into a lot of research on psychology and helping you to give yourself permission to kind of step into the spotlight of your own life.
It's hard, huh? I've suffered from that. I probably suffer from that the most. I mean, of all the ailments I could have, it's like who am I, right?
Yeah.
Who am I
Yeah.
putting myself out there? It's like, but you got to do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we were talking just before we hit record. I mean, we caught up with each other, before the world stopped, like you said. Before we get into, well, a lot has changed. What has stayed the same? What should people continue doing, like that never went away
So
with COVID?
this is one of my favorite questions because people think, post-COVID, post-pandemic, that everything is different. And yes, there are things that are different. We're doing a lot more video calls. We're doing a lot more remote. There's a hybrid world, right? But the things that don't change are people have to trust you to buy from you. You have to prospect more than you just sit on your butt, and you got to ask. So if we look at sort of the most fundamental pieces of sales, those have not changed until we are bots selling to bots. They're people before they're prospects. Let's get out there. Let's invite them to do business with us. Let's build that trust and then create advocates that are out there telling your story for you as well.
How do I prospect if they're all hiding behind cell phones and caller ID and this work from home environment? I can't even direct mail them because they're not at the office anymore.
That's exactly right. So that's where that online presence, and that's actually partially why I wrote the book Sell Yourself, is because we do have to sell ourselves differently. You can't just walk into an office of a prospect. And like you said, you can't even direct mail a lot of them because their mailing address goes to some massive mail room that they never receive it. So you've got to really position yourself as that subject matter expert. You've got to become the flower, not the bee. You've got to be the guy or gal that they come to for that. And so that's where you're branding yourself. And then it is the outreach, though. That outreach cannot stop. You cannot just have this lovely website or lovely whatever social media presence. It's got to be you continuing to reach out, and you've got to get a little creative in that. And that's where video reach out has come in. People are using video platforms now more than ever. And funny enough, I've got a handwritten note somebody sent me the other day. I'm like, I haven't got one of those in a long time. So kind of cool.
How'd they find your address? I mean, I imagine you work from home,
They
right?
sent it to the office. No, I've got an office. They sent it to the office.
Okay, good. All right. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, what's old is new, right? People are handwritten note.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got in my 5 weeks to peak program, right? For the salespeople, mail every day. Write a note.
There you go.
What? It's like it's grueling. It's longer term, but it builds up. And like anything, I tell people, January 1st, did you go to the gym from like midnight to midnight and you're good for the year? Or is that is that the day you start your 30 to 90 minute routine and then build on that for the year? But it gets boring and we're under pressure. Cindy, what the hell? You're going to close that deal? Don't make me put you on a PIP. And next thing I know, I'm cold emailing, I'm spamming, I'm begging. Like, how do we keep the wolves at bay when, it feels like sales cycles have lengthened now. Is that accurate, or am I just not as good at shifting my prospecting? And so once I make the pivot to the new order, new world, then my sales cycles will shorten again.
Well, what's funny though, I do think that they have lengthened, and I see that with all of our clients that are Orange Leaf Consulting, like literally see that everywhere. And I think it's because not only are we competing for their business, but we're also competing for their attention. And we live in an incredibly distracted society, which is different than even 5 years ago, which is different than 10 years prior and 10 years prior to that. So when you think about it, and this is one of my favorite things to tell salespeople, I say, I want you to not take this personal when the prospect ignores you the first 12 times you reach out to them. And the way that I want you to do this experiment, go to the grocery store. Actually, don't get your groceries delivered. Go to the grocery store and stand in line. And I want you to see what everybody does in line. No one is talking to anybody. Nobody's even looking around. Everyone is completely distracted. So I tell all the sales folks that I coach, I'm like, that's what you're competing against. You're competing against the lure of social media, the lure of that article, the lure of that text message. And that's at the grocery store. That's when there's nothing else to do. Then you put them in their office environment when they actually have emails to answer, meetings to go to, clients to deal with, colleagues to deal with. That's what you're trying to tap them on the shoulder and get their attention from. So don't take it personal. You got to really have that routine, that sales cardio built into your day.
Yeah, you've got to build it. I've told this story for years, and my wife was having surgery, golly, 12 years ago. And I was just sitting in the lobby, like waiting, for hours, right? And a call came in, and I'm like, well, might as well answer it. It'll distract me. And it was like a no caller ID kind of thing, and it was from this kind of self-defense place, shooting place that I liked, and I bought some of their stuff, and they were having this big promo, and it was literally the last day. But because we had been kind of caught up with surgery prep and whatever, I just wasn't paying attention. So these were people I wanted to hear from, but I was busy. Life gets in the way. And so, and I bought, right there, boom, press one, whatever, and I bought their stuff. Yesterday, now my mother-in-law is going through some stuff, some health issues, and
Sorry to hear that.
we are out of sorts. My wife's over there and nonstop. And so again, I'm over there last night, and we're just hanging out and just all trying to be together. And I'm scrolling my phone, catching up on emails, and there's an email from a guy I wanted to hear from, and I missed like 2 previous emails. And I'm like, hey man,
perfect example.
Sorry I missed you. Yes, let's do this. Thanks for being persistent.
Yeah.
So
persistence wins.
Persistence wins. But I mean, how much of that should be automated? How much of it should be personalized?
That's a good question. And I always sort of look at that as the definition between sales and marketing, right? Like marketing gets you the at-bat. Sales is where you build the relationship, in my opinion. But I think one of the things is we are so conditioned to automatic outreach right now. We are so conditioned to the bot outreach that I think that's why, even when it's somebody we want to hear from, we dismiss it. Because if there's not something that absolutely grabs your attention in that subject line, if there's not something that absolutely stops you dead in your tracks, so you think about watching that video or reading that email or looking at that text, you scroll right past it. So in my opinion, I don't think anything is going to replace the personal outreach, but you can automate some of that. Like if you do a bunch of videos, right? So let's say that I think I'm going to have to reach out to Wes 6 times. I'm going to personalize 6 videos and schedule them maybe to go out to you. You can still use technology, but it's still going to be me with Wes's name on my phone, me pointing at that going, hey, Wes. So it's personal. That it's not some generic something I sent out to everybody.
Yeah. But it's been years. I haven't gotten one of these in a while, but it was years ago. They would mail a video with a GIF, and like they're holding up like a whiteboard, and it'd have your name.
Yep.
Like that was cutting edge 10, 12 years ago.
Did
right?
that.
But
I did that.
But I still get messages in the last couple of weeks. Like I got a message, I think it was through LinkedIn. It was a video. I think it was through LinkedIn. And they're implying that it was personal, but they didn't say my name.
Right. And so
I tell people all the time, say their name. We are distrusting. We are jaded. 100%. And so, but what do salespeople do? Like if they're an employee, they may not have the permissions to create a drip sequence. So it's just on them, just pound it out, send off that personal email.
That's where they need to sell their employer. Honestly, that's where you go to the employer and you have the conversation of, hey, this is something that can help us increase our close ratio, shorten our sales cycle, advocate for the things that you need, advocate for the tools. I mean, I think back to when, and this is how long ago it was, Wes, so go down memory lane with me, but can you imagine as an author now, you and I both write books, can you imagine having to write a book on a typewriter? No. Like I probably would have never finished.
I did learn how to type on a typewriter.
Same. But can you imagine literally you make one mistake, you've got to go back to, because I can't even imagine. We would have advocated like, hey, I'm going to need a computer. I'm going to need a Select-A-Type, right? Back in the day. So, yeah. But truly thinking about that is an opportunity for you to sell your employer on the resources you need. If you can't get them, you can't get the permissions, they don't want to do it because of firewall settings or something like that, that does not negate you from doing those things on social media. There is no firewall on some of those platforms where you can still send a video, you can do those things. So you got to get creative in that regard.
Yeah. also in the 12 weeks to peak, I have them write every day, and it's like clarifies your thinking, and then I can't write for my company about, you can make an article on LinkedIn.
That's right.
Yeah. You can make a Twitter thread, worst case, write your own stuff and just save it. And it's FAQs, it's deeper insight that you can copy and paste and send over, because I always tell people, it's like we prove our competency by the questions that we ask, and if we already have the answer, if we know enough to ask a deep question and we already have answered that question and can send that over as a resource, they're like, who is this magician? But people don't want to write. Most people, they hate
discipline.
speaking, they hate writing,
Yeah.
but it's like, well, then get out of sales. Oh, but I love people. If you love people, go to HR, right? Sales, you got to wear a lot of hats.
I was coaching a salesperson yesterday, and we were talking about emails that he had sent to a prospective client, and we were tweaking the language. And he said, well, I don't want semantics help. And I said, then you don't want sales help, because you're literally selling yourself in every single one of these emails. And it's semantics. It's the word choice that you're using. If you sound generic, it comes across as generic. You got to differentiate yourself in every touch point you send out there. So I love that you make them right. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. So what is organizational communication? That's your PhD, right?
Yes.
What does that mean? How did you find that?
Well, so it's morphed, but when I did my PhD 25 years ago, which is hard to say, you
were like a child prodigy. You were
yes,
like
clearly,
seven?
yes,
Yeah.
7.
Okay.
Let's go with
Nice.
that. Let's stay with that, Wes. I appreciate that. Yeah, we had talked about this. My major professor and I talked about this, and there wasn't really a track for it yet. So we called it organizational communication. Now it would be probably org development or something like that. But it's a third psychology, a third communication, and a third business. So I diagnose people who work within an organizational structure to help them be more effective through their communication. And my dissertation was on nonverbal communication and how that creates rule systems. I know, wacky.
What am I thinking?
I'm a dork.
What was your goal? Like, did you want to work at a big Fortune 500 company and help them streamline things? Did you want to go out on your own? What was your path, or your vision back then?
My vision back then was I thought I was going to teach. I wanted to be a college professor. I wanted to continue the research. I wanted to help that next generation. And fast forward, I did that for about 5 years and realized I preferred adults to 18 to 24-year-old crowd. And I realized that because I started consulting in the summers, which a lot of professors do. And I was like, oh, wait a second, this is fun. And so I went into consulting full time. Then I was put in a sales role, and here I am. Wow. I started my company 17 years ago. That's hard to believe.
Nice. What do you mean you were put into a sales role?
Well, funny enough,
See,
since it's
I'm
the sales podcast,
whisperer. I pick up
Caught
those
that,
little nuances. So note to the listeners, words mean things. But anyway.
See, back to semantics. So I never wanted to be in sales, and now I'm known as the first lady of sales, which is always funny for people. But I thought sales was pushy, icky, manipulative, cheesy, all the things. I had this avatar in my head of I call him Tommy Two Thumbs, but it's the used car sales, really pushy, hey, I'm going to tell you anything I need to.
Subliminal message.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
I have this on my desk when I give talks in person, but we're always remote. I'm like, what do we think of salespeople? You'll get the do-gooders. Optimistic, cheerful, helpful. I'm like, shut up. That is not when I say used car salesman. Oh, pushy. There you go.
There you go. See?
Oh, that always comes out.
It's true. And that was my perception of sales. So I was at a company and I got put into a sales role, and honest to goodness, I thought I was going to get fired. So I'm like, I can't sell. I'm not pushy. I'm nice. I'm kind to people.
But what does that mean you got? I mean, you got this PhD. I would never think, let me get this PhD and make them hammer out cold calls.
Right. Exactly.
How'd that happen?
So my boss saw something in me to be able to help people. And that's really what sales is. And you know that. That's what we do. It's helping others. And I'll walk away if I'm not a fit. You don't have to be pushy in sales. If you have to be pushy in sales, you didn't do your research, in my opinion. There shouldn't be a push. It should be a pull. It should be, hey, you want to come over here? Come on, here's the stuff I got. I'm going to ask you enough questions and make you curious And then you're going to want this. And if you don't want it, that's okay. I'm not going to run out of prospects. There's 7 billion people on the planet. I'll find somebody else. But I got put in that sales role. And literally about 6 months in is when I realized, I'm like, wait a second, I know how to do this. I just didn't call it sales. I called it convincing, persuading. And so that was actually what brought me to write my first book, because I do have this PhD and I was never taught sales skills. And it's kind of crazy to think about. I have all these degrees in communication, but I wasn't taught sales. We don't teach that as a life skill. And it is.
It's totally. Everything is sales.
I agree.
You know, people say sales is the second oldest profession. I go, it's the first profession. Like it or not, they had to haggle. They had to haggle on terms and payment.
That's right.
The sale was made first. So you can't talk about that. Whatever. I digress.
But every job really is a sales job because you have to interview. That's nothing but a sales conversation. But people don't think of it like that.
Yeah, to their own demise, right? Because, like, you know, the Bible says, you know, when 2 or more are gathered in my name, like, there I am, right? But it's like when 2 or more people meet, a sale is made, right? You know, hey, Cindy, where do you want to go to lunch? Oh, I don't care. Okay, how about Mexican food? No, I had Mexican food yesterday. How about Italian? Yeah, I mean, you're making a sale. That's not really selling. Like,
yeah, it is.
What is it?
Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah,
you know,
it's
so
totally sales.
And I tell people all the time, like, at a minimum, you need to know what's being done against you, because it's
100%.
everywhere. You know, go buy a domain name at GoDaddy and see the 497 steps you have to say yes or no to before you, like, just take my money.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
trying to pay you.
It's like, go get gas. Do you have a Bonds card? Put some gas in my car. You got to check in. You got to give them your cell phone number. It's all a sale. Then while you're there, there's a video and a speaker. Hey, you should get some Gatorade. You know, it's happening to us everywhere. So at a minimum, be aware of it, right?
Be aware and know when you're being sold to and when you're being invited to buy. And there's a big difference.
Right. So it took us a couple of months to catch up. Were you out of the country? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just speaking, like a big conference?
Yeah, speaking. And then I did a little travel at the tail end. I was gone the whole month of November at the end of last year. And unfortunately, it kind of coincided with holiday stuff. So then it was just catch up end of year things. But I'm so glad we were able to finally reconnect. This is so fun. And just
I know,
hearing what's going on in your world.
5.5 years. So what's the goal moving forward? You got a new book coming out. Are you doubling down more of the same? Or are you branching out? You trying new things? Are you doing cold email? Or are you back to direct mail? Do webinars work? Like, what's working today?
So a couple of different things. So I started an online academy a few years ago, Orange Leaf Academy, and it's for salespeople and what I would call non-salespeople, but we know everybody's a salesperson. But the folks that really wouldn't consider themselves in sales, there's classes for them too, to help them sell themselves better. There's personal branding. For salespeople, we've got classes to shorten the sales cycle, all of the above. We've got some that are industry specific as well. And so that's been a big piece. So we're doing a lot more email marketing to get the word out as we launch those courses. And we're doing some ClickFunnels and things like that, which has been really fun to learn because that's not my world. And I've got an amazing team at Orange Leaf that magically makes all those things happen. Shout out to y'all. And a lot of it is speaking gigs though. So that's a lot of the travel. I've got some international travel coming up next month as well. It's still speaking, getting out there, trying to get in front of audiences and help people realize that they need sales. They're doing it all day. It's coming at them all day, like you said, and help them do it more effectively, see it so that they can respond to it better, but really helping those salespeople to realize everybody in your organization is in sales. So if you're a sales rep, you got an account manager over here, you got operations trying to deliver, there's an inside sales conversation to make sure those people are on the same page, getting everybody rowing in the same direction. So that's a lot of the stuff I've been doing, is not just to the sales rep audience, but to the service side of the house as well.
Yeah. So when you talk about learning that stuff, like a ClickFunnels, how much are you really trying to learn it? Because I always tell folks because that's been my space, right? Since like 2008, I got into Fusionsoft and HubSpot, Entreport, all these tools. And I tell most owners, it's like, it's not in your best interest to master this stuff, but you do need to be conversant or you'll get the wool pulled over your eyes, right? You got to know enough to ask the questions. You got to know enough, like, it's not passing the sniff test. So like how hands-on are you trying to be?
Well, so that's the team. So that's my folks. I have an incredible team here at Orange Leaf that they are the specialists. I know my swim lane, Wes. I'm the dancing chicken. I got to get out there and bring in the business. Then they do the hard stuff. So they're incredible.
Yeah, good. And have you kind of gotten to a level in your speaking? I mean, do the invitations come to you, or are you still having to do outreach?
I have been very fortunate for the last few years that I do get a lot, a fair amount of requests. I'd say more than not, but I still do a whole lot of outreach. I am not afraid to ask. I am always looking for another audience. I mean, just like you, we want to go help people. So the more audiences, the more people I can get in front of, the more I can evangelize the message and get it out there. So I am always looking. We do a fair amount of, my publicist for my books also does a fair amount of outreach on my behalf to get speaking gigs too.
So if you give 10 talks, or maybe looking back on your last 10, are they pretty much identical, or how much variance is there? Or do you have like 3 or 4 and it just depends on what they want you to cover? Like you may give 3, 3 and 4, out of the last 10.
I never give the same speech twice. So mine are always customized for the audience. I do this is the PhD nerd in me. I can't help it, but this is where I do a deep dive. I spoke for a shipping container company, and I interviewed some of their managers and their salespeople just so I could get the lingo, so I could get some of that information. I mean, we're in sales, right? So I've got to sell them this idea that I understand their world and establish my credibility with them. So they want to hear what I've got to talk about. I wanted to make sure I knew how things worked so that I could speak to that language and help them see how sales was going to help them as a larger organization, not just for the, umpteen salespeople they have.
So if everyone is unique, I mean, is there still a core? Do you have you have your principles, right? The main, the big breakthroughs, I've got a selling equals dating pipeline that I always cover, right? Stages and tie it to dating. Okay, I get it, so, even though you're using their vernacular, are you overlaying it like on a core set? Yeah.
Yeah, it's usually my 5-step sales process to plan, look for the opportunities, establish the trust, and listen, ask for the sale, and then follow up. So there's usually something around that process, but it also depends on the group. I spoke to a keynote group in Idaho, and it was really more about them getting fans speaking for them. So that you could still say there's the 5 steps, but it was slightly different in terms of that approach. But it's really kind of my favorite fun thing is to create those speeches for those audiences, because I get to learn about them. And then it really does kind of hit home a little bit more, I find, so that they come up and they're like, oh my gosh, I felt like you were talking to me because you knew this. And that's like the best feeling in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, and I get lined up. I know, that's cool.
That's the best thing. That's the best feeling. I've got one on Thursday, and I'm like, yes.
Yeah, it's that's cool. And do you get there early and go mingle like the night before, or do you like to be kind of hidden and come out like pow and make a splash?
No, if I can, I love to get there early. Unfortunately, in recent years, my schedule has not always permitted that. In fact, last year, I landed 90 minutes before I had to be on stage because of flight delays. So that was a little hairy. So I'm coming in hot on 2 wheels a few times here. So Thursday, I'll have a little bit of time in the morning to bounce around and say hello to everybody, introduce myself.
That reminds me. I've been meaning to do this, and I got to just do it. I got to find an assistant. But I live with no traffic, 90 minutes from LA, but there's never no traffic. So I'm like 12 days from LA, but somewhere between 90 minutes and 12 days, I can get to LA. I'm 60 minutes from San Diego, an hour from Disneyland, 3.5 from Vegas, 4.5 from Phoenix. I want to be the emergency backup. Now, obviously, if you're 90 minutes, that's not enough time, but like somebody gets sick, right? Or your flight gets weather delayed. Like, I'm not making it. You're supposed to land today at noon to speak at 6 p.m. Like, I want to be the alternate.
Nice. I like that. And on the West Coast, I'm in San Francisco. So on the West Coast, if there's a West Coast gig, I got you. I like this.
Oh, yeah. But it's like, I can drive. Like, I don't even have to wait on an airline. I can drive to all those places. And like, what are you going to talk about? Look, don't be picky, because that high dollar person, they ain't coming. Right. So I'm going to be less cost, but it'll be pretty good.
Here we go. If I've got SoCal ones, I'll flip them to you. You got NorCal ones, you flip them to me.
I
See,
don't want
ladies
to
and
travel.
gentlemen.
No, people think I'm crazy. I got 7 kids, and it's like I didn't like being gone.
Yeah, that's the hard part.
And I'm a big guy. I don't like you gonna give me business or first? Oh, no, okay, then I don't want to go. I got flew to Jacksonville and golly, North Carolina, and I don't know. The 3-hour time change, 2 hours, I'm okay. 3 hours, it wrecks me. I'm like, I'm tired of jet lag. I don't know.
Yeah. Tomorrow morning,
Southwest.
I'm up at 4:30 to get a flight to go to the East Coast. So yeah, that's the tough one. And then when you're back the next day, that's the part that messes you up, you know?
I'm going to buy a URL. I'm going to do some research. YourEmergencyKeynoteSpeaker.com.
I like it.
What do you think?
Call the GoDaddy folks. Click, click, click.
No, I have to go eat. It's been 6 years. I've been trying to just exit and give you my money. Just let me buy the URL. Speaking of URLs, where do you want people to go?
OrangeLeafConsulting.com, OrangeLeafAcademy.com, and DrCindy.com. Those are the easiest places to find us. There's clicks to each of them on each of the sites. So if you hit one, you'll find the others, depending on what you're looking for. If you're looking for coaching, hit Orange Leaf Consulting. If you're looking for some online training, hit Orange Leaf Academy. And if you're looking for a keynote speaker, not the emergency one, but one you'll book, I guess.
Hey, I'll be a non-emergency one, but like this needs to be on the West Coast or Mountain, or I'll go to Texas. I gotta go back and see family. I'll go to Baton Rouge.
There you go.
So I'll go
middle of the country.
Far. Yeah.
West of the Mississippi.
Yeah.
You know, it was something when I was trying to name my organization, I wanted it to represent change, but not scary change. And, you know, as I polled people and I talked to folks, everybody seemed to love fall. It was this wonderful time of year. And I said, well, that's major change. A tree literally loses all its leaves and starts over. Orange Leaf was born. I wanted it to represent a positive change.
Well, and easy to say. I mean, I've kind of regretted like the sales whisperer. I'm using Fixer Wes now, the business fixer, and because people can spell Fixer Wes. They have Wes Schaefer. They can't spell Schaefer. It's the longest way you can spell it. They can't. There's 9 letters, right? They misspell it. I'm like, okay. We must hinder the conversation going on in the mind of the prospect. They're not paying attention. They can't spell. So Fixer Wes. Try spelling the sales whisperer or ER. Like, I got to go. So are you a diehard Florida State fan, or did you just go there for your PhD?
No, I'm a diehard. I'm back from the Bobby Bowden era when...
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dyed in the wool.
You're legit.
Garnet gold all the way.
You're legit. All right. I like the coach. You know, feel bad with that playoff a couple years ago, but it was the right decision. But man,
it hurt though. It hurt.
I think he mishandled it.
Yeah, that was.
Are y'all coming back? Are you gonna make a comeback in football?
You know what? That is our hope. We have had some not great times as of late, and it's really hard to watch, having gone through 2 national championships and all that stuff. It's like, ouch, that really hurts. But let's hope so, because I am a college football fan, not as much pro. I do watch it with my husband, but yeah, I love kind of Southern thing, I think, because we're originally from the South.
That's what I tell people. They're like, you know, it's different in the South.
It is.
It's like in 2-a-days in the summer, you're laying on dew, right? So you're stretching in the morning and it's wet. And then there's fire ants, and there's mosquitoes, and there's horse flies, you know? And then it's hot.
Yeah.
Then there's alligators, and there's water moccasins, and, you know, it's like everything wants to kill you in the South. And it's like out here in California, like, hey, bruh, like, practice is over. Want to like go surf in the 65-degree weather? Like so like we're angry when it comes time to finally play. We want to hurt somebody. Like, I got all this red ant venom, wasps, yellow jackets. I got to hit somebody really hard, and people just don't understand it.
I've never heard it explained that way, but that's completely true.
It's true. If I'm lying, I'm dying. So they don't get it.
I remember early morning in the dew. I remember I experienced everything you're talking about, but I was on dance team. So we were doing all the same things, but morning and afternoon and the blazing heat over sun and woo.
Oh, yeah, because it's so humid. So you're sweating regardless. 7:30 in the morning, you're sweating. I don't know, just something about that first time you got to sit down and do those leg stretches. You're like, just, but I digress. Dr. Cindy McGovern, all the way from San Francisco via Florida State. Thanks for coming on the show. It's been great catching up.
It's so good to see you again, Wes, and I'm so glad to be here, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Hey, you were worth the wait. Both 5.5 years and 4 months. All right.
I appreciate that.
Have a good day.
You too, my friend.
I hope you understand how important college football is, okay? And why the Southeastern Conference is the best. We'll accept Florida State because they should be in the Southeastern Conference. They're in the Southeastern Conference footprint, okay? So, hey, good chat with Dr. Cindy McGovern, First Lady of Sales. Hope you got something out of that. Do some direct mail. Do some legit calling. Make people feel special. Make them feel seen and heard and understood, right? That is what professional selling is. We talk about bedside manner with doctors, and it applies in sales. Does the prospect feel seen, heard, understood? Okay, people they don't change their mind. They make new decisions based on new insight, new information, new revelations. How do you get them to open up, to be open to receiving new ideas, new revelations, new information? They have to let their guards down. They have to let their defenses down. Our defenses are up naturally because we've been lied to by pushy salespeople. And so the answer is always no, not interested. Oh, we have one of those. We're happy with who we have, but we're satisfied with what we have. Really? When you bought that, was the goal to be happy? Was it to be satisfied? Did you want to be ecstatic? Did you want to be thrilled? When did your priorities change? When did you lower your standards, right? When did you go from, hey, let's be ecstatic to let's just make it work. Let's make it tolerable, right? Because whatever you tolerate, you accept. Stop accepting subpar performance from anyone, from anything. Okay? Put your foot down. Demand excellence. Okay? So, Dr. Cindy McGovern, she's got those tools. She has the programs. And, that's why I'm happy bringing people on. I am not a fit for everyone. And I don't want everyone. I can't support everyone. Right? So I'm happy to be a source of information, inspiration, help you find resources that can help you. Now, ideally, I could scale and help millions and millions. I can't help hundreds of millions, can't help billions. But at the end of the day, it is a big blue ocean. So if you find Dr. McGovern, you work with her, you have great results, and it's because you heard her in this podcast, you will always think highly of me. So I'm happy to introduce my competition to the world. Because again, we're just not everybody's a fit for everybody. So that's why I do this. I get to talk to smart people, pick their brain, get advice, get their books, make friendships, make contacts, build relationships, build rapport. When we were done, we're talking about networking together for keynote talks and consulting. So, and that has always happened for me through this. So that's why I do it. Okay. So figure out how you can branch out, how you can get the word out, how you can build your brand, build your influence, your persona, your persuasion, and it'll pay off for you. Okay? Thanks for watching. I'll go sell something.